Let's check in with Dr. Michael Lim for the new year, 21st century, over the holiday break as he leaves the green room and gets his mic on and sits in and settles in. Doctor, over the weekend, over the holidays, we learned that Carrie Fisher passes away. And then just 48 hours later, her mom, Debbie Reynolds, passes away. Did her mother die of a broken heart?
Well, very possibly.
Really?
Is the real answer, right? So, I mean, the bigger picture over the holiday period between Thanksgiving and New Year's, there were several reported celebrities and stars having heart attacks, and that's what always comes out.
And that's what frightens me, especially Carrie Fisher with woman.
Carrie Fisher had a heart attack on a plane.
Yeah.
That was the headline. Robin Thicke had a heart attack. George Michael had a heart attack. Turns out very few of these people actually really had heart attacks. They did have heart-related events. Robin Thicke died of a ruptured aortic aneurysm and dissection, which is similar to what our friend John Ritter had from Three's Company.
Also, John Carney had something very similar and lived.
And lived, remarkably.
Yeah.
But Carrie Fisher and her mom, Debbie Reynolds, this is something that we know happens. It doesn't happen frequently, but the loss of a loved one can stir such emotion, and that emotional response can be one of the triggers for a heart attack. And, even though it happens very, very infrequently, it's a known concept. And so she did die of a broken heart, likely.
We should say that Debbie Reynolds was not in perfect health. I mean, she was older. She was in ailing health. She wasn't, I mean, she had her own issues. So it wasn't like she was a perfectly normal person walking along, gets this terrible news, and then has a heart attack.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. There is a broken heart syndrome concept. There's a Japanese term for it called takasubo. That stands for a big ceramic pot that's used with a narrow neck where the Japanese used to fish with it, so the fish can get in, they can't get out. And there's a broken heart syndrome that actually goes along with potentially somebody like you or me, Kelly, who grieved so hard or hit with such tragedy that the emotional effect is that it mimics a heart attack exactly. You feel like you're having a heart attack. The initial testing that we would do from a medical standpoint looks exactly like a heart attack, but we have normal blood flow to the heart. But the heart function is severely compromised. And so this is the true, what we call in the medical terminology, broken heart syndrome. The good news from that standpoint is when we follow those people up, a few weeks to a couple months afterwards, their heart function does turn back to normal. But that is there is a known entity of a broken heart syndrome that can exist as well.
You often hear it with husbands and wives who've been married for 50 years, and that's all they know, and the one partner dies, and then a few weeks later, the other partner, relatively good health, passes away then.
Absolutely. These things... there's another connection that's known here. There's no connection with respect to the specifics, but the connection that's known is that there's a will and an emotional state that can sort of predict or keep you in good health or keep you living, and then there's and we've all seen it, kind of a switch that people seemingly turn off, and all of a sudden they lose their will to live, and they pass away. So we've heard oftentimes of somebody surviving till their 85th birthday or some kind of monumental date, and then all of a sudden, just a couple days afterwards, they pass.
Christmas holiday, a New Year's, a birthday, right? An anniversary of some kind.
So there is always a tremendous emotional connection and a mind-body concept that's not explained. You can't name the chemicals or the hormones or the specific reason, but it is known. The other thing, getting into winter, I guess there's a few things we can gripe about, and we're starting to talk about potential snow for tomorrow, and the sun goes down at 5 o'clock, and this is past New Year's, so we're in the doldrums now of winter. People get down. There's a seasonal affective disorder where people sort of aren't as happy, aren't as cheery, and their emotional state is poor. That doesn't also go independent. People are more sick during the winter months and do have more ailments as well.
Doctor, while we have you here real quickly, in terms of heart attacks, What are some of the symptoms people should be paying attention to? I know it's like a pain down your arm or your leg, or what are some of the things people should watch
so there's
for?
excellent question, especially since people might have the silly idea of shoveling the snow tomorrow. It is supposed to be 50 degrees, I think, next week, so the snow is going to melt. So my first advice is just let it melt.
All right. Doctor said let it melt.
With respect to the classic symptoms of a heart attack, it's actually not a pain. It's actually a pressure or a tightness or a squeezing sensation in the middle of the chest. It's sometimes described as there's a vice that's squeezing me, or a belt that's tightening me, or an elephant that's sitting on my chest. You can sometimes feel it in the jaw, especially the left side of the neck and in your teeth, and kind of maybe have sort of just this weird sensation of pain or a toothache, or got to go to the dentist. It can go down the left arm, especially the inside of the left arm, and have numbness. It can be associated with feeling like you're sick to your stomach, and you may actually throw up. Now, those are the classic symptoms, the ones that said that's absolutely it. When Fred Sanford raised his hand and says, Elizabeth, I'm coming, join you. I'm coming. That was it, right? And so if you're having those, there should be no doubt. And if you're having any of those, you didn't take our advice and you did shovel the snow tomorrow and you develop those things, you got to call 911. And you got to let 911 come and take care of you and get you to the closest hospital, because time matters.
Yeah.
Time matters tremendously. Now, there's another group of symptoms that we call atypical, meaning there's other things that people can present with a heart attack that aren't these symptoms. They don't have the classic things. They just have a sudden onset of shortness of breath, or a serious, I just don't feel good, I'm really fatigued, I'm just tired, things like that. Those also could be signs of a heart attack, but also could be signs of a whole lot of other things. And so that's why it gets hard.
Doctor, do you call 911 first, or do you take an aspirin first?
Well, I do both at the same time. So you take an aspirin and chew it. You chew it because then it'll start working faster, and you call 911. The key part is that if we look at statistics, people in the St. Louis area have done a lot better over the past 5 years. But the vast majority of people still don't call 911. And what that means is if you're actually having a heart attack, your greatest risk for not surviving is the time before you get to the hospital. Something catastrophic can happen. Carrie Fisher on the plane. Carrie Fisher basically needed CPR on the plane because she had a heart attack that was compromised by something we call cardiac arrest, which means the heart's not working. If the heart's not working and you're in somebody's car or you're driving yourself, you can't treat yourself, or somebody else can't treat you. Our medics that we train and that we trust can treat you. They have the equipment, they have the technology, they have the training to be able to get you to the hospital alive. If you can get to the hospital alive, you likely can survive that heart attack.
Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SLU Care and SSM Health SLU Hospital. Doctor, great stuff today. Happy New Year. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Happy New Year to both.
8:20.